Migrating to Australia, the podcast for the explaining the journey that many, many, many people have taken from around the world and ended up here in the great southern land. And sadly, we are the great southern land that's having the second dose of COVID. I'm Grant Williams.
I'm David Bongiorno. You're not locked down, Grant, are you?
I'm not locked down, but I am totally surrounded by the schools and the extended families that have been the source, or I shouldn't say be the source. Who knows where the source is of the virus? And it's not the people's fault that they have it. That's nobody's fault that they have the virus. But it's a worrying situation where I am. But of course, nobody seems to care, in terms of adjusting their behaviour or anything. So I was looking forward to travelling overseas at the end of the year, David. But I don't think we're going to be going anywhere until 2022.
Well, we've got Brazil coming to us today.
Oh yeah,
Leandro Boni, welcome to Migrating to Australia podcast, mate. How are you?
Thank you. Good. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Grant. I'm glad to have you here.
Now, while we were setting things up, I was just casting my mind back over the episodes we've done, and correct me if I'm wrong, Grant, but Leandro was the first Brazilian we've had on the show.
Yes, I believe that's true. Now, Leandro, just bear with me 1 second, because in our excitement and my my frustration about the coronavirus, the information contained within this podcast is general in nature and should be viewed as such. Do not take it as specific legal advice. If you take it as specific legal advice and act on it as a result, you are what, David?
A drongo or a galah, Grant.
Exactly. Exactly. There we are, Leandro. The legal technicality's done.
So,
Leandro, let me just get hard hitting and straight into it. What the hell is going on with that Bolsonaro dude in Brazil?
Oh, I don't know, Grant. The guy is funny. He's funny.
I mean, fair income. The terrible joints to be in the world at the moment.
Yeah.
The US, Brazil, and the UK. And what have they got in common? Bloody Bozo the clown, mate.
We're going to make sure Leandro's a citizen of Australia before he says
it.
Are you PR or citizen at the moment?
No, I have applied. I'm still waiting for the
You're still waiting for
PR.
Citizenship?
Yeah.
How long have you had permanent residency for now?
No. I'm still waiting for the PR.
Oh, you're still waiting for the PR?
I have applied 1.5 years ago.
Yeah. Oh, wow. We won't say anything about Bolsonaro.
Oh my God.
Got to wait till you got your Australian passport, then we can talk about Bolsonaro.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say was what an extraordinarily good job that Mr. Dutton and his department and all of his offsiders have been doing, and that we really hope that the processing within the Department of Immigration speeds up, and there's a positive result down the line for you soon, Leandro.
Oh yeah, thank you. Hope they can help me.
We're delighted you're here, because while you're here you can work, and you're a financial investment advisor. The first question I wanted to ask was, because I'm not a financial person, just ask Grant, what's the difference between a financial investment advisor and a financial planner?
It's the same thing. It's just a matter of names, but basically the same thing. Depends on your qualification, what you can do, but basically the same stuff.
You're highly qualified. You have an MBA. Where did you take your MBA in Australia?
I got the MBA at Kaplan in Docklands. I have a bachelor, I have a post degree in finance. I've studied a lot. Yeah.
Do you come from a family of financial professionals?
Not really, David. Most of my family are doctors. So my dad, he has a real estate company. My mom, psychologist. So it's completely different. My brother is more like musician, marketing manager. So it's different.
You've been in Australia for 5 years now?
5 years, over 5 years. Yes, correct.
Now, in that 5 years, you've done an MBA, you're working as a financial investment advisor. How people talk about the quality of life here. What was the quality of life like for you in Brazil?
Well, I used to live in São Paulo. So São Paulo, who doesn't know, is the largest city in South America. So we have about 12 million people living there. So it's huge. It's crazy. It's a lot of traffic. You take like 1 hour to go to work, 1 hour and a half to come back. But it's amazing. You have everything 24/7. But I don't know. I decided to do something different to get to know another country. I lived in Panama before moving to Australia. I lived for 1 year there, which is an amazing country as well. I've been traveling in other countries. I have spent like 2 months in Canada, which was my first trip overseas. And since then, I decided to move from Brazil, I think. So it's been amazing in Australia. Yeah.
A lot of Brazilians come by way of Miami. You've come by way of Panama.
Yeah,
now,
Panama.
I've always wanted to go to Panama. Always.
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful, and English and Spanish widely spoken. Safe, the safest country in Central America.
Yeah, it is. If you live in Panama City, which is the capital, it's pretty safe because there's a lot of American people live there. A lot of Brazilians as well, South America, retirees. They moved from US to Panama because tax free. Mm. So it is amazing. But it's like in developed countries. So they have still many issues that for Brazil, for example, has that we cannot see here in Australia.
As obviously a smaller country, so
yeah, it is.
A smaller scale, or per capita the same problems.
No, it's per capita is small scale. Yeah. Totally. Panama is being known as the Miami in Central America. Yeah.
High praise indeed. High praise.
Yeah.
Now, why did you choose Australia?
Because I've been to Canada when I spent 2 months over there in Vancouver. It was amazing. I traveled to the US a few times, London. And then when I decided to move, I was looking for a place or country, English speaker. And I never been to Australia before. So I said, oh, why not? And by the time that few months before I moved, I had a wife there. So she lived in Brisbane for 1 year, many years ago. And she said, oh, Australia is a good country. You should consider this, blah, blah, blah. And then here I am. But my plan was to come here just for 6 months only, just to take the IELTS, get the points that I needed, and then move to my first plan was to move to France, to do my master there. But I decided to stay in Australia. It's a lovely country, lovely people. It's amazing.
Are we similar? How are we similar to Brazilians, and how are we different?
I think similar in the way that people are very friendly and very chatty. You can start talking to anyone in the street. And if you go up north, Brisbane, Gold Coast is a similar weather as Brazil, most of the Brazil, I would say. Which is better. I would say it's safer, definitely safer, and well developed institutions. The simple things that you do, like simple thing as open a bank account, is much easier and quicker here than there.
Leandro,
Yeah.
why Melbourne? Why not Brisbane or Perth or Sydney, the glamour capital? Why did you end up here in COVID Central?
Yes. Well, few things. As I had a background in finance, when I was researching before moving to Australia, I've seen that Melbourne was very strong in financial companies. Second, I've seen that Melbourne was very related to an European city, more than Sydney, for example. So a lot of cafes and restaurants and sports and all that sort of thing. And the third thing, which is a bit funny, but as I came here just to study English, so my focus was 100% in English. So I chose a city with less Brazilian possible than the rest of Australia. That's why.
Is that right? There's less Brazilians in Melbourne than in Sydney.
Because most of Brazilians go to the north, a bit warmer, like Gold Coast, Brisbane, Sydney, or even Sydney. Yeah.
There's a lot of Brazilians in Melbourne.
Yeah.
In Bondi too. Yeah. That's in Bondi. You can hear it. Oh, you're Bonji.
Well, I've been a few times in Gold Coast because I have a mate who went to uni back in Brazil, living there. So if you go to a supermarket, for example, you can hear Portuguese easy. So it's a second home for Brazilians.
The most beautiful language on earth. Most beautiful. Yeah. Grant, have you ever heard, when you hear Portuguese spoken by Brazilians, you think, oh my God, it's God's language? And it is. It's the most beautiful language on earth.
No, but I think that's because I struggled really, really, really hard watching the 3%. That was I couldn't make sense of the 3%, and I'm sure Leandro has watched that. No,
what is it? No.
Oh, that was. I think we're on to series 3 coming up now on Netflix, but it was Brazilian show, sort of sci-fi futuristic thing where 3% of the population of the favelas was selected to go and live on this island where there was no problems. Everything was beautiful, utopian. So you got to escape the dystopia and then go to utopia. But of course, it was run by wacko weirdos, and everyone was terrible. But the translation, the overdubbing into English was really, really bad.
Oh, it was dubbed, was it?
Yeah,
not subtitled.
So I couldn't make sense of the English.
Yeah.
And it did have subtitles, but the subtitles were
different,
badly done. So all the nuances in the characters and whatnot was missing, and I was just puzzled. So I thought I'd just try and listen and get it, but it's not a language that works for me. Like I can watch Japanese, or I can watch, even Hungarian or German movies or whatnot in German, and I can still get the story.
Yeah.
But, and you can tell it's all the tender moments and all that, but I completely missed them on.
I'm gonna watch that. What is the name of the series?
But that's totally diverging. What I was going to say, David, I was trying to get in there. I heard Leandro pass the PR test. Did you hear the way he did not refer to his friend or his buddy? Did you hear that?
His mate.
He did say that again, Leandro.
I just mate.
Mate,
Yeah,
there it is.
now
That's
see,
That's
he's
it.
complete.
That's it.
You're in. You're in.
Yeah.
Now with you, you've come as a student, and it's not cheap to
Yes.
study in this country.
No, it's
You're a
not.
financial investment advisor, so you're financially very savvy. What are the tips you have for people listening who want to migrate to Australia? What are some hints in coming here? How to save money, invest money? Is there anything they should look at on a micro level in Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane to help them save money?
You mean when they are here or before
When they're
moving?
here,
You mean?
when they're here, when they're studying. I mean, how did you keep solvent and comfortable and make sure that you had plenty of money? Any tricks as an investment advisor? Have you got anything you can pass on to people that might be helpful?
Well, what helped me a lot was that I had a considerable savings before moving. So every time that I need to top up my money here, I brought from Brazil. So this helped me a lot. And as a student, as you know, David, you just can work 20 hours. So sometimes it's not enough for you to pay all the bills and even have some savings. But one tip that we do have for the clients in the office is, like, for example, someone who has a very get a salary, for example. Once you receive your salary, already save a little bit, 10%, 15%, before starting spending all the money. Otherwise, you're gonna reach the end of the month, you don't have saved anything.
What about cards? I mean, a credit, when you're a student or other students, credit cards, debit cards. Is there a better way for them to use their money in Australia?
Well, if you use a credit card, I think credit card is very important. It's very useful if you use correctly, right? If you pay the monthly bill on time, if you don't pay the minimum amount, because otherwise, if you pay the minimum amount, the interest that comes over and over every month is gonna bring your balance to the sky. So yeah, I think it's worth it to have, because sometimes you need some extra money, or you need to pay for a visa, an application, for example. So you need that credit card to use. But it's pretty important to pay on time and pay the full balance.
A lot of
Leandro,
students.
sorry,
Yep.
sorry, David. Leandro, I just wanted to ask: have you still got some friends, any mates who are
Yeah.
still studying, or
Yeah, I have.
and how have they been coping with the situation where, with no support from the government, and not being eligible for the JobKeeper scheme? How are they managing while the lockdown and the absence of the snapback recovery is happening?
It's been hard. I know that some Brazilians here have been helping others with basic food and something like that. People that I've talked as well, some schools have postponed the fees, so they're not having schools, or they're doing some online only. So they have postponed or decreased the payments. And some of them are getting help from family to top up the money that they need here until they get to work again, until the things start working again.
You support each other. I notice in a lot of social media posts, there's a sense of solidarity amongst the Brazilians. And you came with no friends. You knew no one when you came to Australia, correct?
No one. Never no one.
And your first friends formed were from Brazil or from here?
No, they were from my flatmates or people from school. So overseas, basically.
Yeah, it's when I don't know what you're like when you travel overseas, Grant, but if I see an Australian and Aussie, I run the other way. um, but when you guys, I mean, because I know you and I know a few of your friends, and there's a real sense of support, looking out for each other. Is that a particular Latino, South American thing, a sense of solidarity? Or, I mean, are you friends with Argentines here when you wouldn't be friends with Argentines in Australia, in South America? I mean, you know, the traditional rivalry between Brazil and Argentina. Do you forget about that and have a common sense of solidarity here, or is it the same distinctions as back home?
No, I think here we help each other. We have that group on Facebook, which is Brasileiros in Melbourne. I think you have heard about that. And then everyone who needs help or even simple questions about anything. So we help each other there. So yeah, I think when you live overseas, and it's easier to make a friendship or relationship with people from your country because of language, background, culture. So it's much easier, and I think you get closer to people that you wouldn't back in Brazil. I still have friends since the English school that I studied. Guto, for example, you know Guto.
I love Guto. Guto's beautiful.
He's a nice guy.
He's a great man. He's a lovely guy.
Yeah.
I've never heard in 14 years of immigration law, I've never heard a Paulista say, God, I miss Sao Paulo. Why is that? Why is I hear saudade, estou sofrendo tanto for the Cariocas. They miss Rio, but I've never heard a Paulista say, God, I
know the answer, David. I've never been there, but I know the answer.
What's the answer, Grant?
Tell me. What is the answer?
14 million people.
Yeah,
I think that's a big part. A big part. I mean, what do you miss about Sao Paulo?
Of course, friends. My family as well, but my family live in city like close to São Paulo, 1 hour and a half drive. So it's a small city. But most of my friends are in São Paulo. When I studied in the uni back in many years ago. In the city has everything that you want 24/7. So it's just amazing. But the only well, not the only issue, but one of the biggest issues that I had there was the time that you spend every day going to work or whatever you want to go. It's terrible. It's terrible.
Just because it's not.
It's a waste of life.
It's not a metropolis. It's a megaopolis. It's a It's just massive, and I mean, big cities have that common problem that unless you're one of the fortunate few who live and work near the well-appointed centre of it, I mean, you know, David, I've mentioned before my experience of having friends in Manila who live in Quezon City, and if you have to go to the administrative centre of Manila from the outskirts of Quezon City, well, there ain't no public transport. It's a very, very disjointed ride. And if you go by car, I mean, I know I've told you many times. I'm not sure if I've recounted on the show, but it's a 3.5 hour drive in and a 3.5 hour drive out. He's back.
He's back. He's coming back.
We're back.
There he is.
We all disappeared for a second there. Now you specialise, and that fascinates me. I mean, not the act of specialisation because we all specialise, but your sector is a wonderful sector. You specialise in the aged care sector.
Oh yeah, I am.
So does that mean you look after grannies and grandpas, or what's the aged care sector for financial investment advice?
Well, aged care sector in Australia, it's in high demand because people with life expectancy is being increasing, and it's not anyone who knows the rules and can give advice on this. So it's pretty amazing, and you see very easy and quick how you can help and impact in a positive way the people who is moving to residential care, for example, or even the family who has to manage the finance, the assets, the how to pay the bills, and all the sort of thing. So it's amazing. I've been doing this for over a year and loving. It's great.
Leandro, is it very different in the way the let's try not to say the elderly, but for people who are who are beyond normal working age, is the situation of how they are cared for very different in Brazil compared to Australia?
To be honest, Grant, back in Brazil, I didn't have this feeling in a sense about aged care. So I'm not sure. For example, my grandma, she's amazing. She's 94 years old. She lives by herself still. And she doesn't want to move with someone else. She doesn't want anyone live with her. She's very independent, sorry.
94, that's beautiful.
94. A couple of years ago, she used to send messages to me on Facebook. So now she can't do anymore, but she's still pretty healthy.
She's on Twitch now because the Facebook's not for the people.
Snapchat.
Snapchat.
Yeah.
And when did Grandpa pass?
No, he passed away 30 years ago.
That's why Grandma's still alive.
That's true.
30 anos de felicidade, 30 years of happiness. Yeah, it's amazing. Good on her.
Yeah.
And I mean, so you've got good genes in your family.
Yeah. So I don't know back in Brazil how it is, but I know that here in Australia is very well structured. And you can help people with a lot of assets that can pay for anything or can choose what room they want, and you can help people who doesn't have enough but still have some government funding and can live very well, I would say.
Leandro, I'm always looking for the controversy. What's your view on the Australian government looking to reduce the future minimum superannuation contributions that they're currently 9% for people who are working?
Yeah,
for
9.5.
For people who don't know, around the world, we have a scheme that's been going since I think the late 80s. I think it was instituted, that when you're working, your employer contributes on top of your salary a percentage, and it's currently 9% of your monthly salary goes into a superannuation fund that you don't have access to until retirement, except in COVID-19 times where people have been allowed access.
Correct.
That's due to kick up to 12%, sort of trying to keep pace with inflation. But the government's looking to wind that back. How do you see that how will that affect people who are just average working people who might be, say, 40 now, and by the time you're in that age bracket who are going to be the most affected? Would you I'll ask it another way. Would you advise your clients to spend 3% rather than save 3% for their old age?
No, of course not. I would rather definitely tell them to save more, of course. Now the current superannuation savings is at 9.5 that your employer has to contribute.
That's
so
right.
it's going to increase.
Up to 12.
Yeah, it's going to increase gradually in the next few years. And I've heard that there are some conversations regards to avoid this due to the COVID and everything that is happening. I don't think it's a good idea because, well, as I said, people life expectancy is increasing. People are living longer, so they're gonna need the money in the future to live.
And nothing's getting cheaper. I haven't noticed
Exactly.
that the inflation rate has come down as a result of COVID. That is sort of reflective of the reduction in the size of the economy or the activity that's going on.
People are not spending or avoid spending. Yeah.
Nothing ever.
So, yeah, exactly. So I think the superannuation is a great idea. It's well developed in Australia. I think it's the fourth largest superannuation environment in the world. So, and it's what helps elderly people to live with, to enjoy life, to retire at 60, 65 or whatever, play golf or travel. What
Or just
Australia
exist.
loves to do it. Yeah.
But
So
I think people should be sort of aware, though, when we talk about Australia, we always talk about the good things, and there's so many good things. And recently, our health system and the cooperative nature of the way all of our government departments all work together has been fantastic for the society as a whole, with responding to COVID. But people need to be aware that if they're coming to Australia, increasingly, unless you are able to earn well above the average salary, life for an elderly person who does not have considerable savings and lots of asset backing, it's going to be pretty tough just simply because it's very expensive now to do anything here.
yeah, it is. Oh, let's suppose someone who doesn't have many assets will get Centrelink age pension, which is for a single person about 24,000 a year. So
you can
that's
live
the
on
amount
it.
that
You can live on it if you live a simple life. If you live a
simple
simple
life.
life,
If you don't have mortgage,
adequate.
if you don't have any loan, if you don't have anything, just food and food.
Yeah, and just a simple life. But if you aspire to have an annual overseas holiday, go to the snow, go out to restaurants every week, once a week, and things like that, that's beyond your reach on an average wage.
Yeah, exactly. That's why we are next to the end of financial year, so in a few days, and we have what we had done in the office a few days ago. We've been contacting some clients because most people don't know that they can contribute more than the employer make. So, for example, they can contribute up to 25,000 as a concessional contribution. So we're gonna reduce your tax and it's all benefits. So we have contacted many clients to do that. You have 6 days to do it. And anything that you can put in your super, of course, it's some money for a long term. You don't have access for a long term. You have to consider that. But if you don't need the money, or if you planning not to use the money anytime soon, the super is a great opportunity to save money and to reduce your tax that you pay. So
if people
is there
are
a
listening,
similar scheme? Sorry, David, I just want to do one more thing before we move off super.
yeah.
Is there a similar scheme in Brazil or in any of the major South American economies?
In Brazil, we have a private pension, public pension, sorry, which is based on the amount of many years that you worked. Doesn't I don't think is related to the salary that you have worked, just the many amount of years that you have done. And we have the private one as well. So when you work for big companies like banking and big companies in Brazil, they other than making your payment, your salary, they contribute an extra amount to this private pension as well. So it's similar to super here, but it's not large scale as we have in Australia.
People listening who might have mum or dad living with them, and mum and dad living doesn't work out the way they thought it might be, so mum and dad want to move to a home. How do the children and the parent who's going to move get in touch with somebody like you? And who else do they need? Who else do they need to have? Do they need to have a lawyer, an accountant, or what's involved in getting a mum or a dad into a home, but doing it in a way that will benefit mum, dad, and the children who are putting them in financially? So it's done strategically.
I think the first thing is have a pretty clear conversation with all the family. So brothers, sisters, everyone. Because it's not an easy, simple decision. And of course, you need to have a clear conversation with the people who intend to move into residential care. And you have many levels of care. You have home care, which someone goes there just to cook for you or do your laundry or simple things that you cannot do anymore. And when you need a high level of care, you need to move to a residential facility. So, and the big issue is the cash flow, is usually cash flow, because there are some fees that you need to pay, depending on the assets, depending on the income that you have. The more you have, the more you pay, which is fair. And the family needs to fund that. So you have options to pay for the room, which your mom or dad is going to move. And usually when you pay for this, it's like a bond. So you pay up front and then you receive back once they move. Or you have the options to pay as a rent. You have many strategies that you can do and to free up some cash flow, reduce the fees for aged care, and increase the Centrelink pension, for example. And we, just talking about us now a little bit, we are business in Cheltenham, and we have been doing this I've been doing this for over a year, but you have met Tim, right? Which is my boss, yeah.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely.
So we've been doing, he's been doing this before, and we have helped many clients over the years, which is great. And it's good to see when mom and dad are moved to residential care and are very happy, because they can make friends, they can have assistants all the time, they can have a nurse if needed 24/7. Mom and dad can visit, so it's not they're gonna move there and stay there forever, or no one is gonna visit, or they can still take mom and dad to let's go shopping, or it's good. It's great.
The concept of family with some cultures in Australia is mum, dad with children forever. Do you see particular ethnic groups in Australia choosing to put their parents in aged care facilities, or is it across the board and it's commonly accepted? I mean, my nonna lived with my uncle till she was not able to function. And the concept of family to Latinos, to Italians, is that we look after by having them with us. Is that still how it plays out in Australia, or is everybody taking advantage because they see a benefit in doing this?
Well, I think, as you said, Italian, Brazilians, Latinos, we are all more not more. I don't want to say, but I think the culture, it's like to look after until the end, I would say. But I think it's across the board. People are starting to realize that aged care is not a, they're dismissed. It's not a myth. It's not a bad thing. It's not. If you visit some facilities, for example, there's one here. I've been in Brighton for a few years. And there's the one here next to my building, which is I have been there, and it's great. I have visited many others, and the structure is amazing. The people who works there love looking after the mom and dad, so they'll be very well treated. They will have, as I said, 24/7 nurses if needed, and you can take your mom and dad to for shopping, to do whatever you want.
The concept, does it have wings in Brazil? I mean, we've got an aged care sector here that's quite sizable. Is it something that's popular in the Latin American world as well, or is it, tying back to what we were saying before? No, we look after mum and dad in house, or is it a concept that's growing in Latin America?
Not in Brazil, I would say. As for example, my grandma, she's still living by herself, and
that's great. I'm still smiling. It's great.
I don't think my mom and my dad are gonna send her to aged care facility in Brazil, because don't know. I wouldn't trust as I trust here.
If you had it all over again, would you come? Would you come via Australia? What? I mean, you're on the way to PR, and you'll get that. It's not far away. What little hints have you got to what traps can you fall into here if you're not aware? Is there anything you need to warn people who are prospective students, prospective migrants to look out for in Australia?
Well, I think it's hard, it's easy to say after moving, after I spent a few years here. But what I would say is, for people who really wants to stay in Australia, to have a bit of plan, not just move into Australia and see how it goes. So if you come here with a bit of plan, you have some opportunities, you have some options, I think you'll be better off than move here and see whatever comes. I'll take it.
What do you like best about Melbourne apart from the cafes? I know you're a triathlete. So is it the beaches, the bay?
I love living near the beach. So I very often go for a run there, at least twice a week. Another thing that I love in Melbourne, apart from the cold, now that I'm getting used to it, but it's in the winter, for example, the weekend, 2 hours you can go to snow, which is amazing. In Brazil, we don't have that. So in the summer, you have the beach. You can go to Bells Beach, Torquay, or any other beach. And then in the winter, you can do snow sports, which is great.
Do you follow the local football?
No, I've been following AFL.
Huh?
No, I've been following AFL.
So you don't have a team?
It has to be some footy
or soccer.
Footy, yeah. Not. Oh gosh, I'm not a fan of A-League. I mean, you've got Futebol Brasileiro.
No, footy,
Yeah, footy. In terms of football, who do you follow?
I follow Richmond Tigers.
Did you say you're living in Brighton?
Yeah, I do.
Well, you have to follow St Kilda if you live there.
That's it.
Yeah, but you know what? It's interesting because the year that I started actually following footy was the year the Tigers was the champion, 2017.
Okay.
I think.
Okay.
So you jumped on the bandwagon.
Yeah, and I was always Richmond there, and then Tigers fun. Let's do it.
And who do you follow? Do you follow Santos or Flamengo or something?
No, I follow Palmeiras.
Palmeiras.
Yeah.
Okay, beautiful.
The Italian
That's
team.
a good team. Good team.
Yeah, it's a good team.
it's very hard. And Grant, I don't think I've ever had a Brazilian ever say to me the football, the soccer in this country is good. Do you see any hope for us ever advancing to a quarterfinal or a semi-final of a World Cup? I mean, why are our girls so good? Our girls are great.
Yeah, they are amazing, huh?
It's
They're amazing.
because it's a very simple answer that I don't think people want to face up to. What's the major women's sport in Australia, David?
Soccer, football, round ball football. Yeah,
and cricket and netball, and
Yeah.
we're really good at them.
the girls are great.
Now, what are the major men's sport in Australia?
Yeah, football, rugby,
Rugby. Yeah.
And rugby union, basketball, they all come ahead of
football.
Of football. Yeah. And
Leandro,
and that's why.
Leandro,
Exactly.
2016, I don't know if you remember. Do you remember when the Matildas played Marta's team?
Yeah.
The girls, wow. One of the best games of football I've ever seen. And
Yeah.
Brazilian girls don't like to lose, do they? They're very competitive.
No. We are.
Very competitive.
And Marta was the best player, I think, for 5 years in a row.
Amazing.
She's a Pelé. She's a Pelé.
She is. She's absolutely fantastic.
No Maradona. Pelé.
No. Clean as a whistle.
I watched that. I remember watching that, and also seeing the rematch a couple of years later.
Oh, great! When the girls play Brazil and Australia, it's so exciting. It's so exciting.
Is Marta always surly?
Sorry?
Is she always surly? Have you do you know that word?
No, I don't know.
A bit grumpy, a bit aggressive, a bit moody.
She's very competitive. So yeah, I don't think she doesn't.
She does not like it when someone.
No, she doesn't like it at all. She doesn't like it at all. She doesn't cope with losing. Yeah.
When you've got permanent residency, citizenship's only a year away. Where will we see you in 5 years' time?
Oh, that's an interview question, huh? Well, helping team and making my business grow. Maybe having a family here in Australia, why not? Enjoying the life in Australia, which is great.
Your partner's Brazilian?
No, she's Aussie. She's Australian.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
We've
been together for. It's recent, 9 months. Yeah.
If you start a family, your baby will be Australian before you are.
Maybe if they don't speed up the process, maybe.
Leandro, lovely to talk to you. Thanks for coming on.
Oh, thank you very much for inviting me.
Oh, it's been a pleasure, and as our first Brazilian, so you're holding that unique distinction. Well done.
Oh, that's good.
I love it.
That's good. Thank you very much, David.
It's a beautiful profession you're in, because it's aged care is complex in many ways, but to be able to provide some financial advice and some financial guidance, it's good on you. Well done.
Oh, thank you very much. Good to be here in your podcast with Grant.
Now, Leandro, I always get the final question.
Yeah, do it.
because that's my jam, man. That's the way I roll.
Yeah.
Who's got the best beer?
Sorry?
Who's got the best beer, Brazil or Australia?
I think in Australia you have a lot of craft beers, which I've been enjoying now.
Now you said craft beers, not crap beers.
No, craft beers. Yeah. I've been enjoying pale ale style, amber ale. So yeah. But Brazil, we had pretty good beers as well.
Oh yeah.
And
it's all right,
having some beers with barbecue, it's the best.
Well, any beer is good with it.
Yeah, any beer, exactly.
Even English beer is all right with a barbecue.
Yeah, having a barbecue with some friends or mates,
Yeah,
and a beer is great. Nothing better than this.
that's right. You get the mates come round to your joint, mate. That's it.
Boa noite. Boa
Boa
noite,
noite.
Leandro. Boa noite.
Obrigado.
De nada, hombre. Que tengas buen fin de semana.
Para vocês também. Thank you very much, gente. See you,
Ciao,
Dave.
ciao.
Bye.
Ciao.
See you.
Hooroo. Oh, David's gone. I wanted to have a word with David.